Hey friends, this is Rachel from Rachel on Paper. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk all about my main journal, and that is the B6 Daily Planner from Sterling Ink. I think about this journal as creating an archive of the year. I do daily journaling in here, I do memory keeping. I am trying to capture all of the big and small details of 2025 so I can look back on in future years. And so I'm really excited to share how I've been using it. I have been very consistent in this journal since January 1st, and it is getting increasingly chunky, as you can see, and very fun to flip through. And so I thought I would talk about how I'm using this dated daily planner as my annual archive journal and as my daily journal. So with that long introduction aside, if that sounds good, I hope you stick around and let's jump right in. So first, as I mentioned, this is the daily planner from Sterling Ink in the B6 size. I have the gold gilded edges, and this is in the tweed color. I really love the texture of the tweed, and I was really sad that the Sterling Ink planner I decided to get for 2026 did not come in the tweed. But I'm really looking forward to finishing up this journal and just having it, displayed on my bookshelf and being able to pull it down and flip through it. But before we talk too much about the journal, I do want to mention the cover I'm using. So this is a B6 cover from Moterm. This is the veg tan leather, so the softer leather. And I got a very sort of pebbly one that I really love. And this is in the color Honey. I've had this for 2 years now, and it is feeling very lived in, and I really love the feeling of leather as it starts to feel lived in. And it's a very spacious cover. So as you can see, my B6 journal is getting quite chunky, and I can still close it on like the first snap inside. And if I close it on like the second snap closer to the edge, like there's still a ton of room for this journal to expand or to include another notebook. And I really, again, just love how spacious it is. It also has a ton of pockets here, here, and here that I just have like miscellaneous stickers thrown in. These are the stickers that I'm reaching for the most. I have some like samples that I've gotten from different sticker shops that I've ordered from, including Sterling Ink. These are from Soft Paper Studio. I don't even remember where that's from. I have a Polaroid from my family, and then a bunch of stickers that I use frequently in this setup. Some are from Randy.plans, these star stickers I use for some reading journaling I do in here. Let's see. I also have a list of journal prompts that I got from a journaling workshop that was put on by Judith Dollar. Her handle is TX_Sketcher on Instagram. I took a journaling workshop with her in August. That was really fun. And I keep these journaling prompts in my journal. I have this blotting paper from the Coffee Monster Co. and Esterbrook collaboration. I picked up, I think, everything that was a part of the collaboration: the ink, the fountain pen, the blotting paper. And as I can't remember, it must have come with the fountain pen or maybe the ink. You also got these stickers, which I've been using in this journal. I have some more reading stickers from Randy.plans, and then some monthly stickers from Planner Monkey Co. that I've been using on the monthly layouts. And then I just love these star stickers. I feel like they add such a nostalgic touch to different layouts, and so I just keep some in here. This is the postcard that came with this 2026 Sterling Ink order, which I really love. It's so pretty, and I'm keeping it in my journal for now. And then this is a sample from Papery Planning, another small sticker shop that I love to order from. So that's what I have in here. And now let's get into my actual journal. I'm going to try to be efficient with this flip through, in part because I think I'm losing the sun. It's getting later in the day, and I also got my flu shot and my COVID booster earlier today. If you haven't, please go get yours. We are pro-vaccine over here. And I feel like I feel myself fading, like I'm gonna want to take a nap soon. And so we're gonna try to be efficient, but because I have the house to myself and I've been wanting to film this flip through for a while, I'm gonna try to push through and see what I can record today. Again, this is the daily planner from Sterling Ink in the B6 size. And it is essentially very similar to the Hobonichi Cousin, but without the weekly pages. So you have a dated page per day with a timeline here. The pages are dated. You also have dated monthly pages at the front. So all of the, all of the monthlies are together at the front, and then you have dated dailies. And then you have some extra pages throughout. So you have, I'm doing this in a very chaotic way, but again, I'm pushing through because I have to get this filmed today. You have these quarterly pages at the front, then you get these monthly pages, and then you have the dated daily pages. And then between each month, you get extra blank pages, either 2 or 3, depending on when the month ended, essentially. So November, October ends on this right-hand side. You get 2 blank pages between October and November. When you look at December, or let's see, November ends on the left-hand side, and so you get 3 blank pages. And so every new month starts on this left page. And I just love that. Like, I just love all of the small details. Like, Catherine from Sterling Ink is so thoughtful in terms of how she has designed her planners and notebooks. And I just love using them as journals, as planners. This is such a beautiful book, and it's held up so well. And then at the end, you get, I want to say 35 extra blank grid pages that you can use for whatever you want. And I'll talk about how I'm using these at the end. So let's start at the beginning, and I'll talk about how I've used each of the layouts in this daily planner. I don't know what you call this. I've been thinking about it as an archive journal or my annual journal. But again, the goal of this book is to sort of capture all of the big and small memories of 2025, to do my daily journaling, memory keeping. And so starting with the front, I'll just quickly flip through these. I love decorating the front covers with stickers, and I usually decorate this sort of like slowly throughout the year. I'll start with some stickers and then I just add to it and think of this as like a sticker collage I'm creating. Here I have some stamps from the Traveler's Caravan that came through Virginia. I live in Northern Virginia, and they visited my local stationery shop, Penny Post, in Alexandria, and I was really excited. I brought my traveler's notebooks. I also brought my main journal because again, I wanna remember that I did that this year, that I went with my friend Melanie from Addicted to Planning. I'll be sure to link her channel down below, to Penny Post, and we stamped our traveler's notebooks. And so like that these stamps are here reminds me of that. And then you have one calendar page for the current year. And here I've just been marking off where we are in the year by placing a sticker after the month is finished. I'm filming this in early October, and I need to go back in and add a sticker for September. And then you get these 2 blank pages, and here I recreated a layout that you find in the Passion Planner. So probably 10 years ago at this point, I used to plan in the Passion Planner, and at the beginning of the Passion Planner, you got a layout that I think looks kind of like this. I copied this from their website. I'll link it down below. They have a printable, and so I just copied this here instead of printing it out, and then went about and filled it out. And it's essentially, thinking about where you want your life to be over, a lifetime, in 3 years, in a year, and 3 months. And I just love this exercise, and I miss doing it. And I came across like their page on Instagram, and it reminded me of the Passion Map. I think that's what they call it. And so I copied it here, and I am planning to do the same thing in my 2026 journal. And then from there, you get these quarterly pages. I have hacked these to look a bit different. And that's in large part because the way I started using these pages is not how I wanted to use the pages by the time I got to the middle of the year. And so for context, this is an old common planner that I used in 2024. And so what these pages actually look like is a layout akin to this. So here you have January, February, March, and you get these sort of quarterly tracker pages that look just like this. And what I did was I took another old common planner I had lying around that I used in a previous year, and I hadn't used these front pages, and so I cut them out and I used this page for each of these quarters. Originally, I was using it to track the fountain pens I had inked, but then I think around like May, June, I decided I wanted to track social media here instead. I wanted to track what I was posting to YouTube and Substack and my subscribers over time. And so I ended up, pulling out these pages from an old common planner and gluing them in. And I really liked the way it turned out. I feel like I've gotten really crafty with my planner and creative in large part because this community on YouTube and the planner and journaling communities on Instagram and TikTok that I'm a part of, y'all are so creative, and I get so many great ideas in terms of, how to fix a spread that you don't like or to repurpose something. And so I was really pleased and proud of myself when I figured that I could deconstruct one of my old common planners and use a layout that I hadn't used in that common planner in this book. And so that's the way I've been using these quarterly pages. And then from there you go into the monthly pages. I believe you get 14 months from December of the previous year through January of the upcoming year. Yeah. And the way I've been using the monthly pages, because this isn't my planner, is to track all of the media I'm consuming in a month. And so I have all of the books I read, what I'm watching, what I'm listening to, both music-wise and podcast-wise. Now, for context, I'm mostly reading books. I watch a handful of new shows and movies every year. A lot of times I'm just watching the same stuff I have been watching for years, and I listen to some new music, but this Bad Bunny album, I listened to probably 3 months on rotation before I moved on to something else. And so I add all this context to say, in some months, I'm just recording the books I'm reading because in February, I'm pretty sure I was still watching the same thing and still listening to the same thing. And so, yeah, I just love having this recorded here. I should also mention that I have a separate reading journal where I do a lot more extensive reading tracking and book journaling. But because I think about this, I'm thinking about this as, again, my archive for 2025. The books I've read in 2025 feel important information about what 2025 was like. And so I also like recording at minimum in this way what I read in 2025 in my annual journal, even though it's also recorded in my reading journal. And then here I need to go back in and finish this spread, and I also need to go in and finish my September spread. Again, I'm filming this in early October, and I typically go in at the beginning of a new month and finish out the previous month's spread. And so that's what I need to do here. And then from there you go into the daily pages. So at the beginning of every month you get this blank page, and then you go into the dated page per day. And so in January, I thought I would use this monthly overview to sort of capture everything going on in my son's life, what he's liking, things he's saying, things he's reading. So I use this January page in this way. In February, I did some more journaling on this page around my intentions for the month. These are prompts that are adapted from the Cultivate What Matters power sheets. And I also believe they're inspired by Ellie from Ellie's Corner. I'll be sure to link her channel down below. But these are prompts that I have used sporadically over the years in my journals. At the beginning of every month, I'll write down something I'm excited for, something on my mind, something that I'm hopeful for, what would make this month satisfying, something I'm saying yes to, and something I'm saying no to. And so I did that for a couple of months. I think I also did that in March and in April. Let's see. And then by the time May comes around, I think, I didn't really do anything in May. Here And then by June, I started using this page to do a currently inked every month. And that's how I have been using this page since. And I just love the way it looks. I love, tracking what fountain pens I'm using over time and the different inks I'm using. I'm really trying to use up all of the ink samples I have acquired over the last 2 years. And so this is a good way to do that and to see what I'm gravitating towards in my ink collection. And so that's how I've been using these like monthly cover pages. And then I thought I would show you all some like examples of ways I have been using the daily pages. I'm not going to flip through this entire journal because there is a lot of private information in here. But I wanted to show the different ways that I have been using these dated daily pages. And so a couple things I'll note here, like my goal with this journal, and a reason I was interested in using this daily planner as my journal, was because I wanted to really cultivate a practice of daily journaling. And so my goal when I started this journal at the beginning of the year was to fill up a page per day. And what I filled that page per day up with could vary. Sometimes it was like just pen on paper, what's on my mind, what we did that day, how I felt about it. Sometimes here, this is a list of things, my 2025 ins and outs. I believe this was inspired by Claire from Online. I'll be sure to link her channel down below. And then I was writing about like how I wanted to show up on social media this year. And so again, it doesn't have to be like, I'm not very prescriptive in what I have to write about. I just wanted to be in my journal and filling up a page per day. I love journaling. It's something that clears my mind at the end of the day. It helps me feel like more in my body after spending a day, oftentimes online, staring at a screen. I did experiment with some different layouts in here. So starting in February, I was missing the Hobonichi Cousin. And for context, I had used the Hobonichi Cousin for several years as both a planner and a journal, and I would use the weekly layouts to sort of like rapid log my day and record what happened each day. And so I tried to set up these pages so I could do something similar here. And so I drew a line with a pencil and would just record what happened that day. And then I would do some journaling on the side. And I really liked this layout. It was working really well for me for a while. Some days, again, I was journaling like about the day. Here, I wrote a really long quote from a book I was reading, Rebecca Solnit's Hope in the Dark, which I thought was a really excellent book for this moment. It was written probably more than 20 years ago, but it had a lot of, I think, like valuable insights that helps bring some important perspective to what are some very bleak times in the U.S., politically, socially, economically. And so I wanted to write down quotes from this book here. And you have more of this style journaling for a while. And then at some point, let's see, I moved into a layout that looks like this, where I was dividing up the page into two like equally sized columns. And again, because like Catherine from Sterling Ink is so incredibly detail oriented, you do have these marks at the middle of the page to denote like the halfway point here and here. And so it's very easy to draw a line down the middle to write in two columns. And so I was doing that for a while and decorating more. Sometimes I don't have enough to say, and so I have, blank space. I do miss days occasionally, and when I miss days, I'll come back to them and use them for, if I want to write more on a day, I'll use a blank page, or if I want to get creative, I'll use a blank page. So here's a good example. I was traveling for probably 5 or 6 days, and I had a bunch of blank pages, and so I ended up using this page to doodle. This wasn't very intentional. I was on a call and I found myself like my attention waning. And so I'm, for context, a late diagnosed ADHDer. And so I've been learning a lot about what that means and like different tools and strategies to maintain attention when I'm having a hard time doing so. And doodling is one of those things that really helps me like actually listen, like having something to do with my hands helps me listen. And so I was on a call and I just picked up my gel pens and started doing this. It was very relaxing and like meditative, and again, just helped me like tune in and listen better. But I'm mentioning all that to say like this wasn't very intentional or well thought out. And then I realized after the fact that these pens like bleed through significantly, and so I wasn't able to use the other side of these pages, but that's fine. My goal is not to fill out every page. I know that's an unrealistic goal. I'm trying to break out of like all or nothing, like black and white thinking, which is something I've struggled with my whole life. And so I really try to, just be comfortable with blank space and missing days, even though like my goal is to try to journal every day. Like I want to have a daily journaling practice, but missing days is going to happen. It's inevitable. I also don't bring this journal when I travel. I like to travel light. And so I know I'm going to have blank days, and then I just think of that as like extra pages I have to play around with if I'm feeling creatively inspired or I have an idea for, a journaling spread, but want to keep having my daily pages available to do the like daily journaling that has become like really a habit for me at this point. Here we have more like 2-column per day journaling. And then here we have some more like memory keeping with pictures. I print pictures occasionally, not consistently. Here we were away for Memorial Day weekend, and I didn't bring my journal, but when I got back, I really wanted to print some pictures and record some highlights from the weekend. One of the big highlights being that we went to go see Cowboy Carter. I went with my cousins. We went to the New York show, which was on a Memorial Day weekend, and it was just amazing. I've seen Beyonce in person one other time, probably 10 years ago, and I had just a phenomenal time at the concert, and I'm still bummed with myself that I missed Renaissance, but was so glad I got to go. And so I decided to make more of like kind of a junk journaling spread. This was from the bag we got when we bought some merchandise that I saved to make this spread, and I really love how this turned out. I've gotten more into like gluing ephemera and things I pick up in this journal. I have been very inspired by the junk journalers of TikTok and now YouTube, but knowing this is going to get chunky, like I do try to limit the types of things I glue in here. I will glue in some stuff, and then if it feels like it's too thick, or, now that we're getting towards the end of the year and I see how chunky this is getting, and I'm like really committed to finishing out the year in here, I have another 2.5 months. I have been doing more of this type of journaling in an actual junk journal I started recently, which I'm happy to flip through if folks are interested. Leave a note down in the comments if you are. But this is all to say, like, you'll see some of this here, but not a ton, because I don't want this to bulk up too much. And so from there, you get back into, my typical like daily journaling, which is, sometimes stickers and washi tape and lots of pen on paper. So here are a couple more spreads I wanted to share. Here I was writing down a journaling routine, another quote from a book I was reading. I was reading Imani Perry's new book, Black and Blues, which was just so phenomenal. She is in a league of her own as a writer. And I had lots of quotes I wanted to write down, but I wrote some of them down here. I was responding to like a journaling prompt. Here I was swatching some new fountain pen inks I got, and so you can get a flavor of just like all of the different ways that I am using this journal and the different types of things I'm writing down in here. Here I had a two-page spread for my son's 4th birthday. We had a lot of fun. We had his first like proper birthday party with friends. We've had, smaller birthday parties for just family over the last few years, which was a ton of fun. and exhausting. But he had a great time. And then I, love having this here in this journal to look back on. And then here I flagged this page because this feels like the start of a transition in this journal for me. So I was reading a Substack by Janet Asante Sullivan. I'll be sure to link down to her Substack below. But she was talking about how she uses her journals. And I think I realized one way that I had been using this journal that I wasn't totally satisfied with, and that's to do longer form emotional processing, ranting sometimes, venting, just getting my thoughts out and processing emotions and feelings, which I think is important and is a useful tool for me. Sometimes I think I've learned in working with a therapist that sometimes that type of journaling can lead to me ruminating on something too much. But this is all to say, because I was including that more emotional processing journaling in here, I wasn't enjoying flipping through some pages, or I would flip through it and I'd land on a page and be like, ugh, I don't want to read that. And I wanted to separate that type of journaling out. And so now I'm doing that journaling in a separate journal, or I'm also, doing therapy homework. That is my working through stuff journal. And I will open that book up, but much more intentionally. Here, this journal is meant to be more of a recording and witnessing of my life. And so I have been having even more fun in this journal since June when I was reading her Substack and again just had this aha moment and really started to pivot how I was journaling in here and being more intentional with separating out that more emotionally heavy journaling from this book. I also started just noticing and writing down more about our day-to-day. I got really into writing down the weather over the summer, in part because the weather just felt different this summer in the DMV area to me, much more humid, more flash flooding, more flash thunderstorms than I've experienced in my 3.5 years here. And so that was the type of new information I started recording in this journal. I was recording, stuff about the Supreme Court term last term, which was bad for a number of reasons. But I did more of that noting down of stuff happening in the world here, and I have been doing that since. And it is a habit that I have really enjoyed cultivating. I've been writing down what's in the news, what's happening. There's so much happening every day, and it's so easy for what's happening in the US to just start to feel normal because we are living through it. And I'm really fighting against that. And I think recording the news in my journal in this way is really helping just to highlight how significant the democratic crisis here in the US is. And then, as I mentioned, you get these 2 blank pages between months in the Sterling Ink Daily Planner. And in June, I started trying to use these pages for a monthly recap. I say started trying to because this spread doesn't feel finished to me, and I'm probably not going to go back and finish it. But it's fine. I started it, and it's a practice that I have kept up with in subsequent months. I'll also, again, just a fun little hack, I had accidentally written July here because I started filling out this spread in July, and then I just whited it out and used a piece of paper from another Sterling Ink notebook that I had that I've kind of deconstructed to have extra Toma River paper, cut it down and glued it over, and now it says June. So that's the June monthly recap. Let's see if I could show you July's. I love the way July's turned out. So I've kept up with this practice, even though I started it in June and didn't really finish it. It's one I have been doing the last few months and one I really enjoyed. Again, here writing down sort of big things that have been in the news that month. in August here. This is the August recap. I love the way this came out too. And then I have not finished September, but I started it. And so I'm excited to sit down and finish this. So I'll just share a couple of other spreads that I have really liked, like looking back on. Here I started doing a 2-page spread to just note the small sticker shops that I buy from all the time and that I love, and putting like samples of stickers from those shops. I didn't finish this spread, but it's one I want to come back to and finish. And so we have Paper Bits Co., Soft Paper Studio, Serica Studio. I've just started buying from Serica Studio this year, and I love her stickers and her notebooks. Create with Pen, Coffee Monsters Co., Virgo and Paper, Planner Monkey Co., and Randy Dot Plans. These are all small sticker shops that I love and that you'll see represented in this journal a lot. And so I thought it would be fun to just write down and have here like a record of the small businesses and the small sticker shops that I am frequenting right now. And then let's see. So you may see this quote on quite a few of my pages as I am flipping through this journal. And this is a quote from Melissa Fabos. She is a feminist author, and I read a book of hers earlier this year, Body Work, which was so good. And she talks a lot about her journaling practice in this book. And one thing she mentions is that for a period, she would start all of her journal entries with this mantra: "Today I reject the patriarchy's bad ideas." And I just love this quote. And now this is like all over my journal. And I love this mantra. And I love having this sort of written here and reminding me of her book and her work, and, you know, these like bigger goals I aspire to in terms of unlearning like these harmful ideologies I have internalized, and I know so many of us have internalized. So you can see it again here and here. I'll just highlight a couple of additional spreads. This is from a vacation, our family vacation we went on in August. I also brought my travel journal on our family vacation, and I talked all about my travel journal setup in a previous video, which I'll be sure to link down below. But I had all of these, you know, blank pages because I didn't bring this book with me on our vacation, and I did a lot of journaling about that trip in that travel journal. But I still wanted to note like the vacation in here again, because like this is what happened in 2025, and this vacation is a big part of, you know, 2025. And so I did this like kind of 2-page spread with some pictures and highlights. And I know that if I want to go deeper, I can just pull out my travel journal from this trip. Here I decided to just glue in one of my son's like abstract paintings or drawings. He makes these all the time at school and comes home with a ton of them. He just loves coloring and drawings like this. And so I have been collecting them and putting some of them in this journal. And then I have created like a separate traveler's journal where I'm just cutting up and pasting in his various pictures for us to be able to flip through in the future. And I just like, I love this idea because I don't love like loose papers around, and my inclination is actually just to throw them out, which may sound horrible, but I don't know. I'm like, on the one hand, super nostalgic, and I love collecting stuff. And obviously, you know, I'm a big journaler and I love memory keeping, but on the other hand, I hate having like junk around my house, and there's like a million of these that I feel like I've accumulated. And so figuring out a way to use them in my journals or to use them in a separate notebook with him has been great, because I feel like I can like keep them and we have the memory, and it's like, it's more fun to flip through than just having a bunch of like loose random paper all over the house. But I love having this one in here, and then I just noted the date that he colored this. And then these blank pages, I just whited out the dates and I put washi tape over. And I had intentions of using this, and maybe I still will, like if I need an extra paper, an extra page when, you know, I have more to say on a day. But for right now it's blank, and it may stay blank, and that's fine. here I get back into, you know, this style of journaling, and record keeping and like daily logging. And then in August and September, there's a lot of journaling about my 2026 journals and planners. I love planner season, Hobonichi season. I filmed an unboxing of my Hobonichi and Sterling ink orders recently, which I will link down below. But I did a lot of like brainstorming around what I wanted to buy before the first week of September. And so there's a lot of that in my journal. You'll also, let's see, here another page where I'm thinking through my 2026 journals. Here we went away for Labor Day. We visited my parents in Pennsylvania, which is why I had this blank page. These pages were blank, and so I just created a 2-page spread and printed out some pictures. I love the way this came out. And let's see. Of course, I had to create a 2-page spread for the Bad Bunny live stream on Prime at the end of September. I had such a fun time that night. I watched it multiple times the next day when it was still available. I'm so sad I couldn't actually go see him in person in Puerto Rico, and I'm so excited for the Super Bowl concert. I feel like he's having a moment, and I'm just so happy for him. But I really needed to record this in this journal. Like I couldn't not make sure that Bad Bunny was well represented in this journal that is supposed to capture 2025. And then because I used up these pages, I just divided I divided the next few pages up and used some stamps to redate them so that way I could do some more daily journaling here. Here I was doing some journaling on how I want to use my 5-year journal, some writing goals and creative goals, what I wanted to do for YouTube and Substack. And then here, this is a page I was really proud of. When I set up, this is where I was tracking all of my planner and journal spending for 2026, like everything I was ordering for my 2026 setups, and then checking them off as they arrived. And so I'm just waiting on one more order from Randy.Plans, and then I have everything I need to set up my 2026 planners and journals. I'm sure I will have a longer video talking about those setups, but this was really helping me, you know, track my spending and get a better sense of how much I spend during September, which I always know, like I plan for in some ways. I know it's going to be a month where I spend much more money on average on stationery than I typically do, and this I like tracking this in this way, and so this was fun. So that is how I've been using this daily journal. Let's quickly go to the back pages, where again you have, I think, 35 blank grid pages. And so I set up a couple of trackers in the back here that I'm not sure I would set up again. So I have a reading tracker. I created this little Dutch door, knowing that I read more than 2 pages would sufficiently capture. But again, because I have a separate reading journal, like this actually does feel redundant. My like reading journaling at the front, where I'm, you know, printing out pictures of the books I read in my like media log here, does not feel redundant, but this does. And so I don't think I would do this again in my 2026 journal, but because I started it, I'm gonna finish it, and it's fine. Like, you know, you live and you learn. And then here I had a spread for music and podcast. Again, I just feel like I don't listen to a lot of like new music, and I'm listening to the same rotation of podcasts. And so I think I'm going to set up these spreads differently for my 2026 journal. But I do like recording this type of stuff in here. Same for TV shows and movies. I'm going to set this up differently, but I will have something like this, a log for what I'm watching in a year in my journal. and then I skipped some pages. It's very chaotic back here, but it's been fun to play around with and like think about other spreads and things I want to track in this journal, especially as we're getting towards the end of the year. I feel like at the beginning of the year I was kind of hoarding these pages, and now that we're in October, I am thinking a lot about like, okay, what are all the other things I could add to these back pages here? So one idea I had was to do kind of like an annual recap for my son back here. So I would print a couple pictures of him and write down his like favorite books in 2025 and like his Halloween costume and just, you know, all of the big highlights from 2025 for my son here. Here, I don't know what my plan was here. I think I started this thinking I would do like a sticker collage, and then I just never finished it, but maybe I'll come back and finish it. Or maybe I could do like my favorite coffee shops that I went to this year. More blank pages. Here I was using some like ephemera I've gotten from different stationery orders recently, and I thought it could be fun to also track my like stationery purchases in this way. I am not sure if I'll continue to do this here. I have more ephemera from recent orders I've received, but I am a little nervous that like this is getting quite chunky, and I'm somebody who likes my planners to be chunky, my journals to be chunky by the end of the year, but like to a degree. Like there's always a line, and sometimes I don't know when I'm about to cross that line. And then when that line is crossed, I find it really just unpleasant to write in my journal towards the end, and I end up abandoning it. And so I started this thinking it would be fun, and I'm not sure I'll continue to do it because I don't know how bulky it'll make these back pages. And I do have a ton of ephemera from stationery purchases over the last month because it is planner season. And so I might just do this in my junk journal. And then here, just more blank pages. I did some swatching of new fountain pen inks I got. I've been doing some swatching of fountain pens I'm using in here, which is fun. There is a little bit of bleed through. The paper, you know, hasn't been terrible, but it hasn't been great. I've noticed more bleed through and feathering in, I think, a lot of my Tomoe River paper planners and notebooks for 2025, Sterling Ink included, but I'm hopeful that they've figured out these issues. And then once again, I have another spread dedicated to like my 2026 planner and journal ecosystem. I have been, obviously, I was thinking a lot about it before I placed my orders. And so you see that represented in lots of places in this journal. And then we get to the end where I just have like random stickers that I put in the back. I thought I would, you know, take out these stickers and put one whenever I finished a sticker sheet in the back here, but I never kept up with it. That's an idea I know I got from somebody else. I just don't remember. If it's you, please leave a comment down in the comments. And then in the back here, I've just been putting washi scraps, and I thought this could be like a fun little collage, but I haven't kept up with it, and I haven't had that many washi scraps. So, but this is fine. Like this, I like this. This looks pretty. That is my 2025 journal. This has been a longer video than I intended, but if you have stuck with me till the end, thank you for spending some time with me. Let me know if you have any questions about this setup or anything I'm using in this setup, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks so much. Bye now.